and just say, kind of get out, and then, but we also know that the solution they may have for the family may not work. It may be a shelter, it may not work. So those numbers of people are coming to me, and they have people from the community that they've asked to come with, but because that's something they just, I think, announced on Friday, I think that's why it's important to know where those navigators are, so that when the county comes, I can say, give them a call at Stairstep or give them a call at Jordan, because we want someone from the community accompanying you. And that's the kind of information I'm trying to get together. But it is going to take a second for it all to come together. So I appreciate the patience.
All right, Don, and then move to the discussion.
Okay, just a quick question. Looking at the long term here, you said about 36 months. It's about 30 months. And it's not directed at you by no means. It's just a general question for anybody that can answer. So say we get 5-10 grand on Minneapolis dollars. How soon the families in the great regular housing? Is there a plan to actually make that happen? Is that part of any package? I'm not pointing at you.
So, but I can answer that though, because the money we're asking for is not for that. Because there's enough resources available to get those people into housing. It's just getting them connected and making sure that everybody's working with them, knows what those resources are. So right now there are 100 additional slots for Section 8 that are coming available. And there's a way to identify them. And so I will have the information available, and I will email that out so that when you're working, it's not a lot of slots, but it's enough slots that will get it to all of the service providers with the application and with the process is to get them into housing. There's also emergency assistance. It was just approved on Friday that people can now go there again. So before the rule was you can actually access it once. If you have you've been impacted by the tornado and you need it again, you can access it. So this is the kind of thing where it's all in my head, and so we have to have a process for getting the stuff out. So that's what I'm asking for from the fund, is how to get that information out in a timely manner. But the people in housing, I'm working, and other people are working with MPHA and the county, the city, the shelters, to make sure that people are getting into homes. That is always going to be, that should be an assumption at this point, that that's what people are doing. And then the thing that's not an assumption is that we've identified all the people that aren't in those places. That's the piece we have to work on.
I was just going to add that Elam is also working with a lot of families, and they do have, for some people, they are trying to help them find places. But for a lot of families, it's not just having the money, but actually finding a place big enough for their family or whatever. So it's
so they just got a woman place that they have 11 children, and then there's medical needs, and then there's school issues, but people are working on that.
Yeah.
All right. We can't hear you.
And furniture, we're working with bridging to get them the furniture and the pots and pans.
Okay, now we're getting down into the weeds, okay, that this group is saying we would always remember there's tactical operations, strategic levels, all right?
So we talking about communication, because she said something, it's still, I still don't have the understanding of regular communication committee giving a report on where they are, because they got a lot of data.
Hang on.
So if that's separate, you got with separation that she's talking about communication, their outreach, and it's other communications that got to go on from the media, from the radio. They go on the radio. Did I hear her say that that you are making sure that it's outreach going on the radio? And
no, you did not. Look at me. You did not hear that. All right.
Okay.
Here's what you heard. You heard me ask for the communications people to get with her between now and the end of this week, and to come back Monday and to divide it up the way that you're talking about, and then report on it, and we will deal with that issue at that time. Internal versus external, short term versus long term, outreach versus hair game. Everybody got that? All right. Thank you very much for your report. On Wednesday, she's coming in with the final deal. We're going to get it turned in. They're meeting tomorrow. I appreciate all the hard work that's been done at this point. I know that you're under a lot of pressure, but thanks for standing up.
you see that this
Can we say our names when we
exists, and then I'm going to move to the east part, we're going to get this knocked out. A couple of things that we agreed upon that I want to remind the group of. One, operational integrity, meaning that we don't make promises we cannot keep. We don't promise to save the world. What we do, we keep the promises that we make, all right? And we are accountable for those things. It's more than a, hey man, how you doing? So brother, good feeling type thing, all right? It's being serious. Number two, that we would have financial integrity. And so there'd be one less thing to fight about over money. And we've had a couple of discussions around that. And on Friday, we agreed that we would have an external fiscal agent, not for the group, that would not receive any of the money or be part of the programming. And that the first iteration of the Results and Transparency Committee would meet and come back today and talk about some criteria and people having the opportunity to move forward, put names in. That was a spirited discussion about that. But what we said was, what was more important was getting the job done, all right? And that the deadline is Wednesday. So it's probably not going to be a perfect solution to some people's minds, but it's going to be a decision. And people who had interest were supposed to be part of the discussion, bring that forward. We're not going to rehash their work. They're going to bring forward what they have, and then the core team will take over the recommendation that the group approves, and we will do it with direction and guidance from the group to ensure that once the foundation makes a decision, we have a fiscal body that can actually act on our behalf. Is that right? Is that right? All right. Who then was present for the discussion of the Results and Transparency Committee? 3 people? 4? Okay. All right. And who's going to report? Please do.
Thank you. I'm Lissa-Jones, and I'm the temporary co-chair of the Transparency and Accountability Committee because we are bringing on, thanks to Jerry Moore's excellent suggestion, a resident to co-chair the committee with us. We're also in a recruitment mode because we want to bring Northside residents onto our Accountability and Transparency Board or committee to make certain that the residents' real concerns are vetted through the committee and that they get the information they're looking for. So one of our first charges from Lewis was to look at the issue of fiscal agents. We were to come up with a set of criteria around who we'd like to see and their behaviors and their reputation and so forth. So what we did was, consistent with what this group has agreed to, we went and started fact-finding. I put forward last week that we've been working in a different collaborative with the Greater Minneapolis Council of Churches, and I found it to be an excellent experience. Therefore, I put their proposal forward. Today, this was the only proposal that was brought to the committee. This was the only proposal that was brought to the committee. All members were encouraged to bring their information. So it is the committee's recommendation by default at this point that for the Minneapolis Foundation request, we leverage the work and history of the Greater Minneapolis Council of Churches as fiscal agent on this request. Then, as co-chair, I'm making a second request of this group, and that is if you would be so kind as to forward this out to various people, LSS, Northway, MAC, Europe, or some of the organizations that were suggested today, but we had no paperwork. So in our group, no paperwork, no due. So if you would, by next Monday, you can get to me or anyone on the committee, Al Flowers, Jerry Moore, Al Flowers, Lisa Dean, myself, any of us on the committee so far, and get us your information from your person or your organization. But what we ask is that you follow the GMCC format so we're comparing apples to apples. So that's due by next Monday. We have a committee meeting at 11 a.m. If it's not in my email by then, it doesn't get considered. That's a agreement on Monday. We lost our facilitator. I don't know where to go with this.
What is your email then?
lj.blacktivist, BLACKTIVIST
And what's the format? Is there a copy of the format?
Yeah, we might not have enough copies to go around.
Listen, can't you just email the people that were suggested and then ask them to provide?
Well, actually, here's what I'm going to do. My philosophy is if I'm comfortable with the Greater Minneapolis Council of Churches, if other people are not comfortable, as a leader of the group, you do the footwork and you bring it to me. So I'm not going to reach out to anybody. I don't get paid for this. And I got a big full life, so what I'm saying is, if you want to put other people forward, anybody, just make it a completely transparent effort. Just give them the stuff, and I will be glad to email anybody with this proposal so you can just email it around. But I'm not going to do the footwork. Okay?
How many residents do you have on your committee?
We have 3, and we just made a new ask to a guy who happens to work for the state and is a CPA, so that we can track, he can help us with the financial accountability. So we, thanks to the connection we got today, made that ask with that gentleman today. So we'll be able to put them forward. Next Monday will be their first official meeting. And we encourage you to recruit people. Monday, 11 o'clock, next Monday, the 20th, at the Center for Families. I'm not going to facilitate
People
that.
like Henrietta Paulson, she was one that called people to be on the case. But just a Northside resident to make sure, because I want to make sure that 100% of the community, particularly Northside residents, no matter if you're a renter, whoever you are important in this process. And no matter how long you live there, if you live there 30 days or 10 days, you are important to this process and to begin that's part of the healing process. And you probably got more questions. Can I just throw this one more? But they got questions on that. But I want to say on June 25th, I'm going to be working with the state Baptists and the churches and Minneapolis Public Schools about a town hall forum to bring, to tell everybody to come. It's going to be at North High School. I talked to Scott.
Hang on a minute.
Is that the wrong time?
Yeah, wrong time. Because I see all the eyebrows going up. A discussion we're going to have is about structure, right? So I appreciate you recruiting. I said to you, at some point, all of us in this room are going to sign something that says we buy into this, all right? So let me get at the heart of the matter. In order to avoid confusion and conflict down the path, hang on guys, because see later I get beat up. You didn't hear this. Anybody that's joining anything, they got to buy into what we say, all right? Okay, because what we don't want, this ain't aimed at anybody. We don't need really great groups, and we don't need Melissa's power and goes up outside of this group, all right? And all mandates for any committee must come from this group. So this was a first task for this group. Their role is limited at this point to that task, and any other task will be assigned by this group as they work with shelter, as they are with housing, and I need guidance on 14. Does everybody understand? Does everybody understand? As a matter of fact, do we agree that that's the way it should be done? By show of hands. All right? Opposed, raise your hand. No vote, raise your hand. Again, those who agree, raise your hand. Those who oppose, raise your hand. So by consensus, we agree that all subgroups will get their marching orders from this group, and that will be the limit and scope of what they do. And anybody that joins us will first have to come through an onboarding process here so they don't hijack you. Okay? I'm not worried about hijacking the bigger group, but hijacking you, and then you don't get the work done and there's confusion. And we're going to put that on the pack and put a bow on that by having us all sign to agree. Yes, and then yes, and I'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Can you please help us with, just to reiterate, what were the marching orders of the Transparency and Accountability Group on Friday?
Sure. It's essentially was to have a discussion about people wanted to bring in other folks, and we admitted that this was a short time frame. I didn't understand how that would get done. All right, but they wanted to have a discussion. Okay, they would go and have a discussion. We talked about some criteria that they would have to go through, and if anybody had anything that needed to happen by today, which as professionals we knew that was a short time frame, but we have a short time frame to deal with. They did it. Okay, so now as she said at the onset, this is for this particular submission. If we need to revisit it and figure things out later in life, we're open to doing that. Yes, ma'am. What's that? Yes, ma'am, right here.
I'm sorry, I'm always the one in the mood to ask the question that other people are thinking about and they won't ask.
Your name, sir?
Now, this document here is the framework. If your organization wants to be a fiscal agent, you want them to follow this framework. Is that what this is
So that
about?
it's easy to compare apples to apples. Since that was all we had, we just thought that would be useful.
So I only need your email if I wanted my organization to be the fiscal agent and I wanted to present a proposal to the fiscal agent. Is that what?
That is exactly right, or if you'd like to have lunch or coffee, I'm newly available.
Lunch and coffee. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, yeah, no, you don't need to email me, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, so, let me make sure I got this straight, right? Because we're moving forward. They had a discussion. The initial applicant was the only one that had any information on the Greater Minneapolis Council of Churches, an institution that we know that is not engaged in this format and trying to get any resources. They are willing to become the fiscal agent, terms to be determined, all right? Now, that role will be played by the core team, all right? That role will be played by the core team. That'll be Shonda, Chad, the Reverend, and myself.